Right now, there's a chance for a bigger shift in the GPU market than there has been over the past year. Mind you, the market is still not perfect, but it's starting to look good for us gamers. And it's potentially about to get a lot better. So if you're in the market for a budget-friendly GPU, the RTX 2070 or 3060 might be or will soon be in your price range. So I'm gonna give you a crash course on what you need to know before it all happens. Let's start by saying this is not a David versus Goliath situation. I know you're probably thinking the 30 series was way better than the 20 series, so it should be a no-brainer. Well, I'll say this, it's honestly a lot closer than I thought, and the 30 series is better in some ways, but depending on your use case, they both have their merits.
This video is brought to you by Scdkey. Are you tired of overpaying for Windows? Well, Scdkey has got you covered for a Windows 10 Pro OEM key for a crazy low price. All you do is click on the link in the description below. Make your selection and click Buy Now. On top of that, you can get an additional 25% off using my discount code BPC25 for a limited time. The best part is you can fast and secure checkout using PayPal. Type in activation settings, click on Change Product Key, paste in your brand new key, click Next, then activate. Now you're all set. You can also get a great deal on Microsoft Office with the link in the description below using my offer code.
I told you the market is potentially going to get a lot better, and there's one simple reason for that. Before we get to that one simple reason, this is me from the future-ish, because I re-recorded this section because it turns out the 4060 Ti is really a 3060 Ti super refresh turd. Or we'll just call it 4060 Ti turd. So that works pretty well, I think. Now, there's still a chance because it wasn't just the 4060 Ti that was going to make the market better. It was actually the 4060 and the 4060 Ti. 4060 Ti, not so hopeful anymore. But the 4060 and now the AMD RX 7600, both those two cards alone being $300 or less MSRP, should actually really help the market improve and become more price friendly. And as much as I hate to say it, as much as we want to stick it to NVIDIA, there's still gonna be a lot of people who are gonna buy a 4060 Ti strictly due to the more friendly pricing. And maybe because you get slightly better DLSS and ray tracing, even though that's not in every single game, and you shouldn't buy a GPU based on something that's not compatible with every single game. But in all honesty, that is potentially a good thing, and there's still a way you can stick it to NVIDIA. Because that means the used market and any new stock left on the shelves is about to get a huge price cut. So take that piggy bank out, smash it, get your money ready, because there's about to be a butt ton of good deals, but you have to be ready to pounce, because if you don't, somebody else who's been waiting 3-4 years for a GPU is going to. But that's how you get to still stick it to NVIDIA, by buying either used or a generation older, because that money is already lost for NVIDIA. So you buying something old on the shelf, that's not gonna help them with their new stuff. So maybe they'll give them a little kick in the junk they need to learn from us. So let's talk about my RTX 2070. Yes, mine, this was mine, it's all dusty. It released with a meh price of $499, which was expensive then, and that's because it had the new technology of the ray tracing cores and the tensor cores, and it was so super special, fantastic, that we didn't have really much that supported it for the full year after launch. So yeah, it was crap. However, now, it's pretty good because there is a ton of options that support ray tracing and DLSS. On top of that, it still has 8 GB of GDDR6, 2304 CUDA cores, and a pretty decent boost clock of a little bit over 1700 MHz. So for the right price, even today, the RTX 2070 is still a solid and reliable option. Let's shift our attention over to the RTX 3060. This is NVIDIA's soon-to-be replaced budget-friendly contender. It has 12 GB of GDDR6, which is a decent bit more than a 2070. Has over 3,500 CUDA cores, again, a decent chunk more. And again, boasts a boost clock of over 1700 MHz. But in the real world, honestly, it'll hover in around 1900 MHz and some change. It's built on the Ampere architecture and was promised to be a more budget-friendly and efficient option compared to its predecessor, the 2060, and also perform better in ray tracing and DLSS and just in general. Which, mind you, it does perform better than a 2060. The problem is it performs like a 2060 Super with a lot more VRAM. Now, since launch, they have released multiple driver updates and whatnot, and that has helped, but not much. The sad part about all this is now that they're finally becoming affordable, it's about to get replaced with the 4060. But again, that's where hopefully that launch makes these drop even more. As always, guys, pitting these two against each other, I threw them at my Average Gamer's test bench. If you want to know more, there'll be a link in the description to check out. I did all the tests at high default settings with no tweaks or adjustments. There was no SAM, no rebar, no DLSS, no FSR, and no ray tracing. This is just the raw performance the cards have to offer. So let's jump into the benchmarks and see if these upcoming discounts are about to be worth it. If you guys have found this at all helpful or mildly entertaining, do me a favor, please consider subscribing or at least hit that like button because it does help out my channel with the YouTube algorithm. Now that you've seen the benchmarks, I know it's kind of hard to tell in some ways that these are actually a generation apart. You look like it should be kind of like a brother-sister card in a way. Now, the short answer is the RTX 3060 does have better raw performance, even though in some cases it's very, very minor. Most of the areas where the RTX 3060 can shine over the 2070 is strictly in ray tracing and RT because it's the next generation up from the initial ones. But if you don't like either of those, whether you don't like RT or you don't like DLSS, the one thing you can still kind of hang your hat on is the fact that this has 12 gigabytes of VRAM, which should help carry you a little bit further into the future and prevent another upgrade, at least for some period of time. So here's the deal. I wouldn't discredit the RTX 2070. In all honesty, it's still a great card for the right price. And that right price for me that makes sense after the 4060 launch is going to be under 150 bucks. 150 is like my high end for this guy. That's mostly because it's aging technology. One, the dies themselves are getting older, so you may have to consider repacing them. But DLSS 1 and RT, first generation, are not the best performers, and they're not going to hold up very well moving forward. Now for the 3060, and again, this is after the launch of the 4060, I'm drawing a really hard, firm line in the sand at $200. Reason being is once you cross over $200, not including tax, you might as well just spend the extra money and go for the 4060 as it's likely going to do pretty close to on par performance to a 3060 Ti, and it's going to have better DLSS capabilities and better ray tracing just because it's next generation cores over this one. But honestly, you can skip both of these, save some money, go pick up a used RX 6600 non-XT, or pay about on par for a new non-XT and get majority of the performance. Speaking of the RX 6600, you can check out my video here if you want to learn more, and to be honest, you might be surprised at how well it performs, especially compared to these guys. But before you go watch this video, do me a favor, check out my merch below. Again, please consider hitting that like, subscribe button, and I will catch you in the next one.